welcome to West Country Wanderings and welcome to one of my monthly vlogs for the month of April 2024. Can't believe April's already whizzed and gone by. Well, a couple of days left. I'm just filming us towards the very end. Where are we today? Well, we're in the county of Worcestershire, but a part of Worcestershire we've not visited on the channel before, and that is the Teme Valley. We've been to the town of Tenbury Wells, which lies about 10 miles to the west of me here, and the city of Worcester is about 7 miles to the east. I'm standing, I think it's called New Bridge, and we're in what is known as the Shelsleys. We're going to be having a look at 2 of the 3 Shelsleys here today. Beautiful village, so I hope you can join me for the monthly vlog. So that's our bridge there over the River Teme. We're going to be heading into Shelsleys Beauchamp first, and I'll tell you how it got that French sounding name as well. And then we'll be moving on to another village called Parkinsons Walks, who some of you may have heard of previously, particularly if you're interested in motorsport, and I'll talk more about the motorsport connection to that village as well. In between that, I'll also be reading out the very best of your comments for the month of April. I'll be having a look back at the videos that I published during the month. Beautiful landscape around here in the Teme Valley. It's one of those undiscovered gems of places which I really enjoy bringing you to here in, or on, should I say, West Country Wanderings. Shelsleys Beauchamp, and the church lies just over there. So that's where we're heading to next. Now, unfortunately, I've had to change my plans somewhat. I've got into Shelsleys Beauchamp, which has a beautiful church. Unfortunately, it's quite difficult filming around there. They've got something going on at the church, and they're changing the flowers over the church. And also, there's a very large house, which looks very posh, which looks right into the church. Well, not inside the church, you know what I mean, into the churchyard. So it's very, very difficult filming in that area and able to get privacy to do filming. So what I've decided to do is take some shots in Shelsleys Beauchamp and come back to the River Teme to tell you a little bit more about it. Well, first of all, the name Beauchamp comes from the fact that the family Beauchamp, which probably originated, should I say, from France, they lived and owned the land hereabouts in the 12th century. It's a beautiful little village. It's really only tiny. It's probably only about 130 people that live there, but it's got some wonderful Grade 2 buildings and housing, but I guess people there are very, very protective of the village as well, so you kind of stick out like a sore thumb because it really just doesn't get any visitors at all. I did, however, manage to get into Shelsleys Beauchamp Church while they were changing the flowers over, and I picked up a leaflet actually written by one Colonel T.J. Bowen, who was a church warden from 1983 to 1993. And I'm so glad I did this because the information here, and I think this is going to be far more accurate than what's online, differs somewhat from what's online. If you go online, it says the church was built in the 12th century. Well, actually it wasn't. The only thing that survives from that period of time is the tower, and that wasn't actually built until the 14th century. There were lots of modifications in the 15th and 16th century. What I also found in the church was a couple of parish record chests. They probably date from the 17th century. I'll insert a couple of photographs now of those. They're absolutely magnificent, and I was really glad to see those. Some nice stained glass there just above the altar as well. Most delightful church, and the flowers were looking great. By the early part of the 19th century, the church at Shelsleys Beauchamp was in quite a state of disrepair. Part of the north aisle had collapsed completely, and they held a meeting, but not until 1845. Not sure why it took them all that time to hold the meeting. They decided then to go ahead and actually get some money together to restore it. And thankfully they did. It's a most delightful church here today in the Shelsleys in the Teme Valley in Worcestershire. So what was the first video that landed on my channel for the month of April? Now, before I tell you what that video was, I just want to give out a very big thank you for supporting the channel. If you watched last month's vlog and also the Easter greeting video, which had an incredible number of views. I have no idea why that video had so many views just for an Easter greeting video, but it did, and that's that. You'll know that my father was poorly. He was taken into the hospital about 4 weeks ago now. It was all rather dramatic with the paramedics being at home. He was taken into hospital, and well, a couple of weeks later he actually came out of hospital, and he's doing really well at home, recovering well at home and doing really, really well. And in that video, that vlog, I mentioned that I would only be able to film locally close to where I live, which I did for the first part of the month. And obviously now he's out of hospital and recuperating, I am able to film a little bit further away, although not too far away at the moment. It's only taken me about 50 minutes a drive here from where I live in Gloucestershire. But I will be doing some more videos a bit further away. As you know, I cover the entire West Country down into Devon and Cornwall, because in the early part of May I'll be going down there to visit family. So there will be some videos coming up from both Devon and Cornwall later in May, although the early part of the month will be quieter as I'm doing those videos and away from home. Now, again, before I mention the first proper video that landed on the channel for April, just want to talk briefly about last month's vlog, because I had a great comment on that and I just wanted to show you that. I won't cover what the vlog was about, but I filmed it locally at Tinkley Gate, but didn't I? But I had a great comment on that from Ted and Carol Collins. They run their own YouTube channel. They used to live in the area. They used to live around the village of Cam in Gloucestershire. And just up from Cam is Coley Peak, which is where I started last month's vlog. And the comment from Ted and Carol Collins is as follows. In the 1920s, my dad and his family lived halfway down Coley Peak. It's that steep lane that goes down there just off the top of Froster Hill, in a cottage which had no running water, so water had to be fetched from a well a bit lower down the lane. Crikey, that must have been quite a palaver. You managed to go there with pails of water. We take it for granted these days, with pretty much all houses connected up to the mains water supply. Just turn the tap. But that was the time, 1920s, so that's only 100 years ago. Things have changed so much. Hopefully that cottage now, if it still stands, has a water supply. Thank you very much for that great comment, Ted. Now, Shelsleys Beauchamp's main claim to fame is in the English Civil War, the Second English Civil War. If you saw my Lady Queen Matilda video in Gloucester, you'll know that there was another one. We'll come on to that later. But he arrived here in this part of northwest Worcestershire, came to Shelsleys Beauchamp, and just beyond it there's a ridge at a tiny little place called Pudford, and from Pudford he shelled Hom Castle, which is just over there. It's now a farmhouse the other side of the River Teme here, and there's been many cannonballs found in the river, as you can imagine. I'm not going to dive in there today and have a look for any. Now, I think a few weeks ago I probably wouldn't have been able to stand that. Probably is just only 3 weeks ago, because we had all that rain. Well, we still had a fair bit of rain. This is another rare dry day here towards the end of April, but hopefully it'll be warming. It's actually quite chilly when I got here. It was only 7 degrees. I thought, whoa, warmed up to about 11 now. But again, it's a wonderful spot here with the river behind me. Now, I was invited by Canon Caroline Simcox, who looks after Fairford Church, that stunning Cotswold church in Gloucestershire. And because I'd done a video there a little while ago doing a walk, but the church wasn't open at the time because I'd finished the walk late and it had closed up for the evening. So she invited me back there to have a tour, which she talks in the video around, and showing you that stunning stained glass in that magnificent church. I had a great comment on that video from Clement Pulse, who lives in Canada. The stained glass windows are in surprisingly good condition, not only for their age, conservation, but also for their craftsmanship and pictorial quality. I can certainly agree with that, Clement. You definitely are. I can easily comprehend the biblical narrative and its inspiration. The medieval wood sculptures of the misericords are stunning. Canon Caroline Simcox was a competent guide. Thank you very much for that, Clement. A great comment. And I really enjoyed that, making that video. There was actually, if you've watched the video, some organ music in it, because there was an organ recital. There was actually practice going on, and it was the son of somebody I met making one of my canal videos. Small world we live in. That's not the only battle that's happened at Shelsleys Beauchamp. You wouldn't think you had all these bloody battles in this really quiet and rural corner of Worcestershire, but there was. 200 years before the English Civil War, there was another war, and that was between the English and the Welsh. In 1405, Owen Glendower amassed his armies in the hills around here, which is, we're clearly in England, and he decided to attack on a front towards the city of Worcester, which is about 8 or 9 miles to the south of me currently. there was a big battle around this area in the fields and the valley of the River Team. Amazing that. I think he was also supported by the French as well, wasn't he, Owen Glendower? I'm not that up on my Welsh history. That's why I don't actually cover Wales on my channel. I also struggle to pronounce the names. But yeah, it's a wonderful country, don't get me wrong, but I leave that to people that know the country better than I do. Now, while my father was in hospital, in Gloucester Hospital, it was quite tricky getting content out and making videos. If you've ever had a relative in hospital, you understand what I mean, because you're going to visit them regularly in the hospital and you're ferrying clothes to them and taking back dirty washing, bringing them extra food and reading materials and spending time with them. And it is quite a difficult process, as you can imagine. And yes, I'm so glad that they've managed to sort my dad out. Brilliant hospital team there. While I was there doing one of those visits at Gloucester, I decided to make a video really close to where I was, because I caught the train to Gloucester to go and see my dad. So I decided to make a video at Gloucester Station. Now, Gloucester Station has an interesting history because it's one of two main stations in Gloucester. The other one was Gloucester Eastgate. Gloucester Station used to be called Gloucester Central. And it's where all the lines connect up between South Wales, going up to Birmingham in the north, and down into further southwest, down to Bristol, Devon and Cornwall and Somerset. So it's an important interchange station, and I thought I'd do a video from that, and I had a great comment on that video from Louise from Southwest Sundays, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with. She writes, "Wow, imagine a train that is 36 carriages long." Now, what she's referring to there, if you haven't seen that video, is that Gloucester has the longest railway station platform in the United Kingdom, because it's in effect two platforms, platform 1 and platform 2, but they're one continuous long length. And as I said in the video, they're 36 carriages long. Louise carries on to write, "They would run out of alphabet letters to name all of the carriages." Indeed, that's a fantastic point, Louise. I love that. If you go onto heritage lines, and like with Network Rail, the carriages aren't numbered, they're often given names. So you can imagine that starting, I don't know, with Anna and going through to, I don't know, a name beginning with Z, and then you just run out because you wouldn't have enough names. That's brilliant. Louise also writes, "I never realised that trains came in kit forms. Really fascinating. Looks a nice train, nice and bright and colourful. Wall posters on the platform wall behind. It's so convenient that the hospital is so close." Yes, it was, Louise. Thank you very much for a great comment. And as I say, platform 4 there. If you ever need to visit, hopefully you won't, but if you ever need to visit somebody in hospital in Gloucester, it's probably the best way of getting there, because the traffic and car park charges can be quite horrendous. Now, I've just had a look at the second of the two villages here, Shelsleys, which lies just the other side of the River Team. On that side, if you like. It's just a bit further behind the camera. Same problem there, it's very difficult to film in that area, but it has a number of interesting features which I managed to get on both a bit of video clip and some photography, not least of which its church. The name Shelsleys, though, comes from sgliad, which is Old English, and it means, well, effectively wood. It's also part of someone's name from that time, probably from around the 11th or 12th century. And the Welsh bit comes from Old English, meaning clearing, so clearing in the wood, which is really apt because the hill behind Shelsleys, which is completely wooded, and the section that's closest to the river is completely clear. Obviously they cleared it so they could use it for agricultural purposes. Shelsleys, though, of course, is very familiar if you are a multisport fan, more of which in a bit. Now, I made a couple of other videos close to the city of Gloucester in the month. One of them was looking at the village of Corse. Now, often when I come up to Worcestershire, I've been travelling through Corse, particularly when I was making the Severn Way. Hopefully we'll be back on that again later in May, the last 3 sections of it. And it's a small village just south of the town of Upton-on-Severn in Worcestershire. And in fact, the village lies right across the border, part of it lying in Worcestershire, part of it lying in Gloucestershire. But probably its most interesting feature is that it was a settlement as part of the Chartist movement, and I talked about that in the video, and a great comment on that from Ron, who runs a channel called Parkinsons Walks. You like watching my railway series where I do lost railway walks, you'll love Ron's channel. Ron writes, "Hi Paul, I lived in Staunton for around 30 years, so it was nice to see it through someone else's eyes." Now, Staunton actually has its own church within Corse, and the two, well, it's hard to know where Corse starts and Staunton finishes, if you like. But I found it a really interesting village with lots of history. I'm glad you did too, Ron. Thanks very much for your comment. That's great. That's the hills that are at the back of Shelsleys Walks. So Shelsleys Walks is just over, well, round about there. So I'll include some more footage of that now, and I'll talk some more about the motor racing. I'm sure if you're into motor racing, you're probably already well ahead of me. I also filmed another video in Gloucester, and that was telling you the story of Queen Matilda. Now, I tend to shy away of filming in busy urban areas like Gloucester, Worcester, Bristol, though well, I have done them from those areas before. Where else have we done? Salisbury and Exeter and other places. I'm sure we will touch on them from time to time, but I much prefer filming in places like this where you can have the place pretty much to yourself and you can kind of breathe and relax a bit more. But I did the video there because I thought I'd share with you an interesting aspect of Gloucester's history. Now, Gloucester is steeped in history, and I made a video, part of my Severn Way series, looking at Gloucester in more depth, and I will be doing the same with Bristol. I also did Worcester and Shrewsbury, didn't I, on those? And it was to do with Queen Matilda and all her fans that she had, that they wanted to get her coronated on the throne. But if you've watched the video, you know that didn't actually happen. I had a great comment on that Queen Matilda video from Diana Rolfe. "It was such an interesting time in history, but always overlooked in school curriculums." Yes, I don't remember learning anything about Queen Matilda, even though I went to school just a few miles outside of Gloucester. "I remember the tale of Matilda escaping from the besieged Oxford castle, either by sending on white sheets or dressed all in white, as it was the depths of winter and everywhere was covered in snow. She escaped across the frozen River Thames." That is a fantastic comment, Diana. I didn't know that. Obviously, I did when I wrote the notes, but I didn't know that prior to you writing the comment on my West Country Wanderings YouTube page. A brilliant comment, and I do hope at some point to visit Oxford Castle, because Oxford lies just at the extreme right, east section of the region I cover, because Oxford is kind of in the Cotswolds, and everything to the west of it is definitely in the Cotswolds. So Oxford is certainly somewhere I'd like to visit for the channel, and when I do, I hope to go to Oxford Castle. Thank you, Diana. One of the most popular topics on my channel is the canal series, and when they announced about the restoration of the Stroudwater Canal and the Thames and Severn Canal back in 2021, can you believe that? I think it was towards the end, they did the bridge in Stonehouse, the ocean, and I picked up quite a few subscribers, so I know I do have subscribers that primarily watch me for my canal content, although, as you know, and I talked about previously, my channel is a variety channel. The other thing to mention is, if you're fairly new to the channel, just explain a little bit about playlists. I have divided my videos up on the channel to make things easier to find. So if you're only interested in me for canals, you'll find all of my canal videos in my canal playlist. I'll show you that now. And I have actually grouped them in order. So you've got all the ones to do with the Grand Western Canal together, all the ones to do with the Droitwich canals and Stroudwater, Thames and Severn. You get the general idea. So they're all there marked together. So I added another one for the month. I actually added two. And that was Secrets of the Stroudwater, looking at the dry dock in the village of Easington, not far from the M5 motorway. And that's a really interesting place because it was built, what, some 30, 40 years after the Stroudwater Canal opened, but it became a really important place for the Stroudwater in terms of their maintenance facilities. Now, though there isn't a huge amount to see today, a couple of the buildings are still there. You can also see the entrance to where the dry dock was at one time. And I had a great comment on that video, really good, from Malcolm Richardson. Always great to hear from you, Malcolm. The Stroudwater History webpage indicates that the dry dock was covered by a building with open arches facing the canal. The arches can be seen in the photo, and the rear of the clock tower at the eastern end can be seen, and behind is a chimney at the nearest right-hand corner of the building. Perhaps there exists a photo of the clock in an archive somewhere. Yes, brilliant comment, Malcolm. Thank you very much. I do hope so. I've never seen a complete or proper shot of that turret that was there on top of the building in the dry dock. It'd be wonderful to see that. I'll keep my eyes open, and obviously if I do, I'll share that in one of the future episodes of the Secrets here on West Country Wanderings. Now, the village of Shelsley Walsh behind me is famous, probably world famous, for motorsport, and is possibly the oldest, or certainly one of only 2 or 3 motorsport venues in the entire world. This motorsport venue opened in 1905, and the reason that date's significant was because at that time, it sounds incredible now, it was still legal to do races and rallying on British public roads. Wow, how about that? But the reason this was chosen to become a circuit is because of the hill, the very steep hill that climbs up behind it. It is on private land, although there is a public footpath enabling you to walk on sections of it, which is what I did earlier. I'll include some clips of that now. I'm not really into motor racing, so I can't give you much more information on it other than that, and I think it rises 910 metres. There is one other thing to tell you about the motor racing circuit, is that Stirling Moss, who, even if you're not into motorsport, even I've heard of Stirling Moss, and in fact I did see him once, long story, I won't bore you with the details, and he actually came to here, Shelsley Walsh, in the deepest, darkest corner of Worcestershire, really remote here. And when he was a teenager, he actually drove one of the fast cars up the hill, Shelsley Walsh. Don't ask me what speed he got, but this is one of the very first events that he went to, and it's part of now the British Motorsport Hill Championships. I'll just wait for that blackbird to close up. Beautiful to hear it though, wonderful. Still got competition. As well as canals being really popular on the channel, railways also are, and one of the series I started last year was my Lost Railway Walk series. We're now up to episode 12, and because I'm only able to do locally at the moment, I went to the Cotswold town of Tetbury, which lies kind of the eastern part of Gloucestershire near the Wiltshire border, and it had its own railway line that once connected it to the main line between Gloucester and Swindon. It's a beautiful section to walk on. I had a great comment on that video from Roger Payne. My late mother told me she used to catch this train into Cirencester. There was another branch from Kemble going into Cirencester. One time there was a through train from Cirencester to London before they built the Cheltenham bit. It was referred to as the Tetbury Donkey. And she would board the train at Rodmartin Holt. I imagine doing that now, Rodmartin Holt. That's wonderful. Yeah, so there is a little village there, and Rodmartin Holt's came on a little bit longer to encourage trade. Thank you very much for that wonderful comment there, Roger. Now, there are 2 other things that Shelsley Walsh is famous for. One is its 12th century church. It's a really small church, and again, a bit like the one at nearby Shelsley Beauchamp, it fell into disrepair, and it was through the efforts of a parishioner that it was saved in the 1970s. Unfortunately, I tried to go in it, but it was locked. But it's, as I say, it's a bit out the way. You can understand why. Beautiful setting there, just at the slopes of the woodland. And the other thing is a water wheel. Now, with the thanks from the Midlands Motorsport, isn't it? Motorsport Club, who kind of run the event. They don't own the land, but they run the event at Shelsley Walsh on the hillside. I think they run every month or so. I'll put a link to their website in the description of today's video. And through their efforts, they actually restored a water wheel, which is wonderful to see, and a mill, which is nearby. Again, unfortunately, that was closed, but I did kind of get a shot from one side of it. But both those must be magnificent, and both of them are open on events days here at Shelsley Walsh. As well as covering canals and railways on the channel and doing my walking Cotswolds ones and one on the southwest coast path, I also like visiting towns and coastal places. We've certainly done Clevedon before, and Weston-super-Mare, continuing the theme of that, is Burnham-on-Sea, right in Somerset. What a wonderful town that is. And I turned up there, I kind of planned it quite late, and Louise was planning to go up there because they had a classic car show on there. We met up there for a coffee and had a look at all those fantastic classic cars in the high street. They actually closed the high street off so you could have a good wander up there. And I also went for a wander on the beach and around by the River Brew tidal there. Had a great comment on that from Donna, Donna's Adventures, and I'll put a link to all the commentators around their own YouTube channel in the description of those if you want to check them out. Donna writes, Burnham-on-Sea looks like a very nice area to explore. The classic car show was a great find. Always awesome happening across events like that. Yes, there is such an admirable dedication to restoring these old cars. Love the black and white photos. So awesome to think about the legends of the area. Always enjoyable to see Louise. And thank you very much, Donna. I'd like to thank Louise for appearing in that video as well. And also, I think I appeared in her, so she's done one on Burnham as well. If you've not already checked that out, over on her channel on Southwest Sundays. It was back to canals for my next video for another part of my Secrets of the Thames and Severn Canal, part 4. This time, not a specific location, although obviously I had to film it in location. I decided to do it at that fabulous roundhouse there, one of the best preserved there in the eastern section of the Thames and Severn Canal. And in that video I looked at how the canal was built, right from the very start, how it was mapped, including what happened with all the navvies, the tools they used and the construction of it. And we'll be returning to that theme when I look at the Sapperton Tunnel as well, the biggest engineering project as part of the Thames and Severn Canal. I had a great comment on that video from Daryl, who lives in America. I have always been fascinated by canals. They are an engineering marvel and a testament to man's determination. I love this bit. A friend of mine once said that a canal was nothing more than a glorified ditch. I can't wait to direct into your video. Thanks very much for that, Daryl. One of the other things I like to touch on my channel from time to time is photography. I've always been interested in photography, indeed why I do the channel now, YouTube, love doing it. Sometimes I'll do a video just dedicated to photography, and that was the case with the next video when I went to the town of Cirencester, also in the Cotswolds, not unlike Tetbury, although it's a bigger town, to do some street photography with a new, to me, lens. It's no longer manufactured, but it's a kind of an all-purpose general walk-around lens, but also has a few tricks up its sleeve, which you'll know about if you've seen the video. I had a great comment on that from a new YouTuber who lives, I think, in Wales, South Wales. Hi Phil, lovely to hear from you. And again, check out Phil's channel. He does lots of photography videos as well as walks and exploration, not that dissimilar to what I do on my own channel, but more of it based in the Wales area. Love the 28mm lens. Glad you're enjoying the street photography angle. Yes, I've previously kind of shied away from doing street photography, but I seem to be enjoying it more and more these days. We now have a pheasant to compete with the blackbird and the tractor. Finally, for this month, I went to the town of Swindon, probably thinking it's not the most photogenic location in the world, but it has the Wilts and Berks Canal. And there's got a new section of it that's going to swing around the south of the town. There's also a restored section following the original line at a place called Wichelstow. And every weekend during the spring, summer and early autumn, they run boat trips on a boat called Dragonfly. And I popped over there last Saturday on a beautiful day, no, last Sunday should I say, on a beautiful day to have a trip on Dragonfly. And I was more than made welcome by the volunteers of the Wilts and Berks Canal Trust. We're following their progress here on West Country Wanderings as well with the restoration. There'll be another Wilts and Berks, proper one if you like, coming up very, very soon. But it's a wonderful trip. It's not particularly long. It's only about half to 3/4 an hour long, but very scenic. And I had a great comment on that video as well from Marilyn Balderston. To view the canal like that is amazing. It has made so much progress since we moved away from 7 years ago. So I guess Marilyn used to live in and around the Swindon area. And you've inspired me to join the Wilts and Berks Canal Trust. Well, job done on that then on the video. That was one of the things to do with that video, was to promote the trust. So thank you for joining the trust again, Marilyn. Just, I'm never able to visit myself, living too far away now, and too difficult to reach it in one day. But you have provided a real taster. It's such an asset for Swindon to have this linear waterway, isn't it indeed? Yes, it's terrific, and as time go on, there'll be more. There'll actually be 2 other boat trips opening soon as well. One in Wootton Basset and one just on the edge of the town of Chippenham, and hopefully we'll be covering that in a later episode on the Wilton Berks Canal series. Well, that was the month of April here on West Country Wanderings. In fact, it isn't, because just a few minutes ago on my phone I clicked publish on a new video, but obviously that's just going out, so we'll cover that in May's edition of the vlog here. But beautiful place here. This is the Team Valley, is stunning. There are other villages in the area, and we'll probably cover those in future episodes of well, having a wander around the wider West Country region that I do here on YouTube. Thank you very much for watching the channel, and I do again thank you very much for all your support and kind words on Facebook and on the YouTube group as well, on the community pages, and contacting me generally about my father. As I say, he is on the mend now and really getting there, so I'm so pleased and relieved, as you can imagine, and my mum is as well, to have that news. So obviously he does need still some support, but we're doing that. But in terms of next month, hopefully be able to go a little bit further away, just for a short period of time, and do a couple of videos from Devon and Cornwall, which I've not been able to do for a little while. So that'll be coming up. And hopefully, fingers crossed, weather being well, we'll be back on the Severn Way. Yay! I'll also be doing another Cotswold walk, and there'll be other content on railway. I hope to do a preserve line to get some steam action in over the next few days as well. So lots of things to look forward to here on the channel for May. Thank you very much for watching my channel during the month of April and all the support you provided to me. It's very much appreciated. All the best for now. Take care. Bye-bye.